Team Gravity presents Fight Night.
Y'all ready for this?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Team Gravity Fight Night Tournament of Champions number 3. My name is Fear Dragon, and today I am joined here by the one and only Jack Attack TV. How you doing today, man?
I am insanely, ridiculously good. Super psyched for all of the people that are playing tonight. Super psyched to be casting in with you. One of my favorite humans to cast with. My favorite humans to talk with. One of my favorite humans, Ravi. That's you. You're up there. Just saying.
Gonna make me cry before we even start the broadcast.
Yeah,
but I also want to give a shout out
Thank
to
our sponsors,
the third person. Thank our sponsors, of course, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But I want to give a huge shout out to the third person who you guys are not going to see, who is joining us here, and that is going to be Martin, one of the heads of Team Gravity in general, but also our lovely observer, and is doing all the broadcast and production to make Jack Attack and I's lives as easy as possible. We're basically princesses that don't want to have to do work. So we just sit here and we watch StarCraft and talk, and then Martin does all the heavy lifting and organizing and, you know, working with, of course, his co-owner of Team Gravity, or whatever you want to call it, Techno Trance, as they organize the players and do all the hard work and pay out and do map videos. Jack and I just watch StarCraft and talk, so big shout out to Martin. But
I think next cast we'll have to get on like with tiaras. Actually, I think that would be the way to do it. Really,
you know what, I can order those for us. All right, we're gonna talk about ordering those later on. But I want to give a huge shout out to the other people that make Team Gravity Fight Night possible. Before we jump into the game, because the players have actually been waiting for just a little bit to get started. First of all, Hitbox.tv. In case you haven't noticed, if you're watching this through, say, the Team Liquid calendar or the Team Liquid embed, then go ahead and click on through, because Hitbox is a wonderful site, and it runs fairly smoothly. It has some great features in the chat where you can post GIFs in the chat, or GIFs, whichever pronunciation you prefer.
Can
We're
post
agnostic
GIFs
here.
and GIFs if you want to. Really.
Both
it's
of them at the
freedom
same
of
time.
Choice. You know, we're really about letting you have the agency as the viewer to choose what you want to do, and the polls as well. More choice. You know, up hanging out. Are you cheering for Hydra or StarDust? Find out. Click buttons. Buttons are good to click.
They are wonderful to click, and they're very rewarding to click. And speaking of another button you can click, G2A is another one of the sponsorships that we have that makes Team Gravity Fight Night possible. If you actually want to get $5 off of any game that you're thinking about ordering, I know that I myself recently decided to make the purchase on G2A for Metal Gear Solid 5, and I got $5 off. And all you have to do to get $5 off on G2A is subscribe on the Team Gravity Fight Night channel, and you'll get a $5 coupon on G2A. It's that simple. It's almost like you're not even spending money on the subscription for Team Gravity Fight Night, because you're just getting it back in whatever the game purchase you make. And of course, there's one or two other sponsors. One of them is Spawning Tool. Jack Deck, what is Spawning Tool, and how awesome are they?
Oh my god! Spawning Tool is one of my favorite things on the earth, and I don't say that as a person who's like, oh yes, I must say the sponsor. Like, I use Spawning Tool all the time, and I did so way before I started casting, way before they even did this. They have stats on all the matches. They have macro stats. They can say, okay, what's popular in the meta right now. They have even integrated with Salt, the add-on for training, so that you can actually have an audio build order in-game to teach you how to learn and build, and all you have to do is throw a replay in and be like, oh, StarDust did really cool in that fight night. I want to learn that build. Toss it into Spawning Pool, toss it into Salt, and then bam, you have an audio build order in-game to learn from. It's so cool. It is really literally one of my favorite things.
That's seriously amazing. I highly recommend everyone
cool.
go ahead and check out Spawning Tool. The Spawning Tool has also provided us a ton of really interesting facts about the players that we're going to be watching today. But one final shout out before we jump into the first game to our last sponsor, Oh Fuck You. And I say that because, you know, I'm not cursing. I'm not actually saying the F word, because there's no you in Oh Fuck You. I can actually pronounce it Oh Fuck You. Oh Fuck You is a wonderful member of the community who has done an enormous amount of support, or given an enormous amount of support to various StarCraft related events, and Team Gravity Fight Night is one of them, and he is one of the primary reasons why we're able to put on Team Gravity Fight Night Tournament of Champions. So huge shout out goes to him. And with that being said, Jack Tech, are you ready to start watching some StarCraft instead of just talking about watching StarCraft?
No, I'm not ready. Give me like a second. I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
All right, I'm ready. Let's do it. That was good, man.
Let's do
really
this.
Appreciate
Let's hop in the game.
Getting in there.
All right, I was a little bit confused. I'm so sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I sometimes forget whether or not we have something to play before the game gets started. I'm so used to doing like map intros and all that kind of crazy stuff, but ladies and gentlemen, we are down here. We don't even have to wait through some other video unrelated to the actual game being played. We just get to hop into the game as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map on top of the red Zerg player. Representing Team Root, it is Root's Hydra.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of our screen, literally 10 feet on the other side of a soundproof wall from me, it's the blue Protoss, StarDust.
I like that, the image of that conversation. I need a soundproof wall in my own place that I'm living in. Why would you need to do that? Well, what if I end up casting a player who literally lives in the same place as me, or like is in the same place as me? Well, this is gonna be a pretty interesting situation for StarDust to deal with. We got the proxy hatch going down, and there's usually two ways that you can handle this as a Protoss player. You either do what StarDust is doing, or you just let it finish and deal with it otherwise. But StarDust does not want to deal with this at all.
Oh man, he's sticking around being super annoying with that drone too. And that's one of those big things. Always going a little extra mile, delaying this expansion. The creep is gone. Normally that expansion would want to be down already, but it's not. And on top of that, he's also lost so much mining time. I think it was like 10 probes he pulled or something like that. So that's about a mineral a minute. It was about 30 seconds. A lot of minerals lost there. So, you know, it's one of those things you might think, oh man, it's a proxy hatch, it's super cheesy. It's like, well, if he pulls that many workers, a lot of times you can even out, and Hydra following this up with multiple hatches.
Exactly. On top of that, it's a 3 hatch before pool. So Hydra is really just pushing this to the limit, taking advantage, probably just clearly just saying, hey, you seemed like you really want to go for the Nexus first. Well, that's fine. I can go for the 3 hatch before pool very safely then, even with the delays he caused for StarDust. But Hydra already looking very strong. And I've got to say, moving into this series, Jack, Hydra is just such an unbelievably strong force in the North American scene right now. And just in general, that even Koreans in Korea are saying, Hydra? Oh, I don't want to fight him. He's really good. He's really strong. So he's got to be the favorite coming into this.
I mean, 100%. As sad as it is to say, StarDust last couple of performances in tournaments haven't been going well. He's considering switching to Heroes of the Storm. He's not 100% sure on it. So it's very sort of interesting. StarDust is in a weird spot right now. This is, you know, a very clear underdog situation, but if he can pull it out, you know, who knows? Maybe that's that confidence he needs to say, you know what, I think I can stick it out. I think I might stay with StarCraft too.
Definitely.
You know, it's one of those types of things. But in any case, not a lot of pressure being able to come down from the Protoss for the time being. That's why Hydra's been able to take advantage of this with the 3 edge before pool and droning up to ridiculous levels, as ridiculous as possible.
You might as well.
I mean, that's what I would do.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of makes sense. And you know what? I've got to say, of all the matchups the StarDust could be facing off against Hydra in, PvZ is probably his best one, just because, you know, his PvZ win rate, 73% win rate of all the matchups, or all the replays that are on the site spawn tool. But, oh, you got to be very careful to earn that kind of win rate. That Stalker just barely managed to escape from the Zerg's surround.
Yeah, really nice position. The Wallen's not finished here. He's going to get a good scout. Most of these Zerglings have already died, and they will get finished up by that Stalker. But look at this. He gets to see all of the gases that are going on. Didn't get to scout the main, but generally speaking, you get to know he's looking for that tech building at this point in time, and he sees that it's not anywhere about. He gets to count the pylons, all kinds of useful information for Hydra to make proper decisions. That one of those most important things macro, micro, multitasking aside, is really getting that information so you can make the best possible decision.
Yeah, and he does get the scout up on the very fast third expansion that comes down over here from StarDust, and here is going to be the response. Make a ton of speed Zerglings and say, no, 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 you don't get to get up a third expansion that easily and that quickly. And this actually could be a bit of a problem, because normally when you go for this fast third, you want to get that pylon set up, the 2 pylons, the cannon, and the gateway wall in to protect that photon cannon. But that's not getting started over here for StarDust. In fact, I'm a little bit concerned that he's going to be able to keep that third expansion alive at all.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult. His sentry count is really low, and he has no structures over here to help prevent. He does have the Mothership Core out scouting in the front, so he's going to get a little bit of an advanced warning from this. But Hydra being super smart, just going to hang out here, pull up the lane. Speed's going to finish. He's building even 14 more behind this. As far as tech at home, we don't see a Baneling Nest anywhere, so it looks like he's just going to go cancel the third with this. But is he really going to try to...
Might as well.
All right, he's poking in the front. Okay.
Yeah. I think, you know, there's no harm in just poking you at the front and seeing, like, hey, are you a little bit light on your sentry? Can I just bust down this wall in? But after seeing that, I mean, the kill on the Nexus is pretty guaranteed.
Yep, really, really good play here. And it's not that a 2-base Protoss can't take on a 3-base Zerg. It's still in a decent position for StarDust. He is getting Blink. And Blink oftentimes is quite good. +1 is finishing. We might end up having, as it is the general kind of style right now, is sort of Blink and Sentry into some sort of attack. Sometimes it's on 3 bases, but in this case, StarDust has been pushed into the 2-base situation. And my god, that is a lot of Zerglings. Holy.
You know, I love this style from Hydra because it just feels like Hydra's so in control of this game. And think about it. What is going to be the natural response to having your third canceled? There's only 2 responses from StarDust. Either 1, try and retake it, or
right.
2 base all in because my third is going to be so delayed. Like, there's no point even trying to. And it's going to be the latter. And guess what? These speed circuits are made exactly for that purpose.
This probe is really important.
It's going to be able to maybe force a recall. These forces are pretty gosh darn good. StarDust making the best of a kind of awkward situation, but he's wasted so many forces. He barely has any forces available anymore.
Well, you know, that complete wall off, he's going to go and check, come over to the third. There's nothing over there. He did manage to save, StarDust did, all those units, but now there's no probe to build a proxy pylon out in the map anymore. So if he wants to get out there, I'll have to open it up again. He might just wait for Blink. Here comes the other probe. And yeah, really smart move over here by StarDust. He's gonna make sure. All right, I've cleared out. I've known. Oh my God! And that's the round. Blink out of it. Very nice move, and that is one of the big advantages of Blink. He runs into some trouble. He gets the round. You can get out of it. Adds you that extra mobility that he really, really needs right now. Pylons are going down, but Hydra's in a good
Hydra though. Yeah, I like Hydra's position overall, but he's getting very aggressive with these Hydra lists, and that's something I'm a little bit wary of, because I mean, these Blink Stalkers, they're a pretty mobile force, and they might be able to just chase down these Hydras. There's no real escaping for them. They don't exactly have muscular augments or any creep to retreat on.
Absolutely not. We do have these Zerglings coming in from the side. We're really going to need to... Oh, no force fields in the back end. The Zerglings come in for the surround here. Hydra's getting out tons of damage, but it might not be enough here. Blinking away. Excellent use of these Zealots here to pull the aggro of the Zerglings out of the way to keep those Stalkers alive. Excellently done.
And StarDust is trading more cost efficiently through that engagement than Hydra. Hydra has to replenish that giant Hydra count that he just lost. And yeah, there's not any more sentries over here, so I think that StarDust is still on a timer, but he's got +2 weapons. He still has an opportunity to make something happen. It was a really, really aggressive push out over there from Hydra with those Hydrals. I'm not sure how much I like it, but it still seems like he might have firm control of this.
All right, +2 is done. Remember, that is a critical upgrade for Stalkers against the Zerglings. It allows them to clear out much faster, and a lot of times Zergling is the way that this is dealt with. But those Hydras deal tons of damage, and the rally point is very, very far away. Even just moving up absolutely relentlessly, totally fearless, running in here, the reinforcements coming in, and that's it. Hydra, victor of game 1.
Very quick game number 1, and I mean, StarDust might have that 73% win rate boasted on spawning tools replay availability, but you know, Hydra's pretty good at ZVP himself. He's sitting at a solid, I believe, 60%, or sorry, 70% win rate. And actually, a very interesting statistic that might kind of fall in line with what we just saw. Hydra is very good at defending and executing cheeses, and 70%, he has a 70% win rate at games that last between 3 to 12 minutes. That game was 13 minutes, so it was like a minute over, but still 70% win rate with games that end fairly early on, and I can kind of see why.
Well, and I think that's one of those things that you need to be a really consistent player, is to be able to, first of all, have a lot of diversity in your play and be able to not be so predictable as, oh, this guy cheeses all the time, or this guy's always greedy, or this guy's always trying to play macro. And at the same time, you have to be able to get past that early part in the game where you're getting cheesed. And once you have those elements, it's really, really becomes so much easier to be a consistent player.
Yeah, it's a really important part to have that kind of broad depth of strategy that you can toss out your opponent. But I will say Hydra has shown that he likes to be a little bit more aggressive, and you can see hints of that through, hey, my opponent's taking a third. I could try and just out-greed him. I could just try and drone up and maybe be a little bit greedy with tech or take a faster fourth expansion. Nah, I'm just going to make a ton of speed zerglings and just stop this, like, stop it before it even gets started. And just the follow-up being additional speed zerglings. You can see that sort of level of aggression from Hydra. So I'm curious, Jack, what would you like to see out of StarDust as kind of an adaptation versus the beast that is Hydra?
And I think it's kind of tough because that game started off with a proxy hatch, so that really puts Hydra in control, basically, of the flow of the game. There aren't, like you said in the beginning, not too many options to deal with that. So Hydra can very sort of predictably, if he's practicing this in his PVZ, in his ZVP rather, specifically can say, okay, these are the way it turns out. If he goes for a fast third, I do this. If he goes for a 2-base element, I do this. So it's one of those very difficult things. I'm not 100% sure about that 10 worker pull for the for sort of dealing with that. StarDust, and then following up with the gateway. It's just sort of, you don't have a lot of aggressive options. You can't do any sort of cannon rushing. Sometimes people will like do a cannon their main and then go cannon rush. But the fact that he was so easily be able to get up to a 3-base economy and just pummel him over was really, really tough to do. I wonder if like that was a one-trick pony kind of a thing, or if that's just a style he's going to play out in this best of 5 then.
Yeah, you know, I think that like the sort of situation that ended up developing really came off of two things. I think it was a really good identification of what he believed StarDust was going to do, because you have to remember, it was when you go for that 3 hatch before pool opening, or when you go for that kind of proxy hatch opening, you're sending out a very early drone scout, and to make that work as well as it did, your opponent can't be going for like a forge first, so they can't be going for a gateway expansion. They have to be going for the nexus first. So it was a good identification of what he believes StarDust is going to do on even a 2-player map, which I think it's maybe a little bit less common to go for those kind of nexus first plays, unless you're going for the mind game of, well, they won't expect me to go for it on a 2-player map, so that's why I'll go for it on a 2-player map. But either way, it ended up working out, and we'll see how the adaptations go in game number 2 as we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map on top of the teal Protoss player. It is StarDust.
And in the top right-hand corner of our screen, the Titan of America representing Team Root. It's Hydra.
So, got a pylon on the low ground once again. It's a 4-player map, Cactus Valley. How are you feeling about a Nexus first? Because this is what I kind of am getting the feeling that StarDust wants to go for.
Well, I feel like Nexus first on this map is the easiest out of all the maps, just because this choke is literally the smallest natural choke in the map pool available, and maybe even in the history of StarCraft. There might have been some crazy Wings of Liberty maps that have super small chokes, but you can totally wall this in with like 2 gateways if you absolutely had to, kind of a thing.
Yeah, man,
so,
it's pretty small.
You know, most of the time you need 3 to complete the wall. This you can totally complete the wall in 2 major structures. You can just throw down a gateway and a forge, maybe leave a little gap for the zealot as is usual. So you can really, you know, protect yourself, insulate yourself, get that 2-base economy up really safely. So I think there's almost no reason to go for the to not rather go for the Nexus first on this map.
Yeah, and I think he, in that sense, by going for Nexus first, will be pretty okay with the fact that he ended up spawning cross-spawn positions, just because it buys him a little bit more time. Maybe he can get up a third a little bit quicker this game, as opposed to the last game where he tried to get it up really quickly and really struggled with that. But we'll wait to see how things end up going. For now, we do have a gas opening out from Hydra, so not really going for the big economic 3-hatch before pool play on this map, despite it being a much bigger map.
Yeah, and that's kind of that circle of mind game that you always have on a big 4-player map like this. The more the map gets extreme, the more mind gamey it gets, in that you're sort of like, oh well, everyone goes. It makes sense. It makes so much sense to go for so many hatcheries first, and I'm gonna go gas. Ooh, didn't expect that, did you? You know, that kind of an angle, and we're seeing that Hydra's at least gonna crank out, 4 lings. Not really indicative of any aggression. Just gonna use him to scout out, see what's going on. And StarDust the same thing, getting a scouting position. Everything seems sort of nice and comfy here. Nothing too crazy yet, but yeah, still sort of wondering about how Hydra's going to make use of this early gas. He is keeping a single worker in the extractor afterwards, so we'll have to see if it was worth it, in the end.
Yeah, it's going to be very important to see how things end up shaping up in this game in particular, just because Hydra's currently up 1-0. If he can maintain control like he did in the last game, in this one, that is just such a mentally defeating thing, where you just get completely controlled and honestly just kind of murdered in 2 games in a row, and now you don't have any extra legs to stand on. You have to win every single game from there on out in a best of 5. This is going to be a really important game for StarDust, so what kind of build does StarDust go for in one of those really important games where he knows he has to guarantee a win? Is this the game that he goes for like the big 2-base play, or the big 2-base all in or push?
Yes. I'm gonna guess yes. Just because I think StarDust history is pretty indicative towards really aggressive play. I think he does well in the micro aggression area a lot.
That's true.
I think that sort of plays to his strengths. So were I StarDust, that's definitely the kind of angle I would be going. And I think too, it's sort of one of these situations where you're playing someone who on average is probably going to play better than you. And there's a whole strategy that revolves around that. But generally speaking, you either go for a really greedy build and try to get an extra advantage, or you go for some aggression. +1 already coming out, 3 gates on the way. At this point in time, who can say exactly how it's going to go? You could definitely take a 3-base, a 3rd base off of this. We do have the probe moving out, but it goes right past that 3rd base in another direction. I believe that Overlord was scared off so that probe would not be seen.
Yeah, we're also seeing probes being cut, 6 gateways being added on. I think that, Jack Tech, you are right. This is going to be the game, and look at how well hidden all of those gateways are behind that main mineral line. It's a very long distance across the map. It's going to be a very long journey, and that may be one of those things where a lot of people say, well, Protoss have proxy pylons, so it doesn't matter. Well, it gives the Zerg player a lot of time as they see those units move out to prepare to get the units in place to try and pick off the probe with their Zerglings and prevent proxy pylons. Do Zergling run-bys like this that get a
really
great
big.
scout off. Oh
Yeah,
man, he's gonna have so much more time to prepare.
Exactly what's going on now. And if the clock wasn't already ticking, it's really ticking now. We see Spine Crawlers starting to come up. The Roach Warren is already done. 14 lings on the way. Hydra knows all that he has to do is hold this attack, and he will be able to win the game with ease.
It's so important to note that not only is there not going to be the tech there for StarDust, but there's not going to be the economy. He's actually starting a couple of workers, interestingly enough, during this, but here we end up seeing StarDust starting to push in. How much damage is he going to be able to do?
Nice position over those zealots over to the side. Really done. He focuses down the spine crawlers before they're able to do too much damage. We have the zealots fighting the lings. That's exactly how you want things to go with Protoss. He's going to get this 3rd base canceled.
The 3rd is definitely broken over here, and we have a nicely positioned proxy pylon. It's going to be able to warp in a lot of these zealots. Roaches are starting to pop out finally, but has this snowballed a little bit too far out of control? It looks like Hydra's already lost a lot of the spine crawlers he was building at that 3rd expansion. He only has 1 left over in his natural expansion, and he is now a 2-base Zerg versus a 2-base Protoss. The longer that this game goes on, the more this is going to end up benefiting StarDust, I think.
And StarDust is just steamrolling through here. Needs to get those Zealots in the front. Oh, but he is a little bit wary of this wraparound from the Lings in the back, trying to cut off the supply. But he's going right for the throat. He's going directly in. All these Roaches and the Queens are all vulnerable at this point in time. Really great position with the Zealots, keeping them in front, protecting the Stalkers. Drones being, yeah, it's always a bad sign when the drones are being pulled. You're pulling off into the side. He's only got 6 Stalkers left. He's trying to warp in back at home. He did deal with that Zergling threat in the back, so he's got a forward warp in point, and this is looking disastrous for Hydra.
Oh, wow. I think that StarDust did it. He's done it, and, you know, we were talking about how good of a win rate that Hydra had in any games before the 12-minute mark. Well, maybe this is just because Hydra sticks around for a little bit longer to see, oh man, is there any way that I can hold it at this point? But he's already fallen way too far down in supply. GG. StarDust. Even up the series 1-1, saying, no, Hydra, we're not going to have that quick of a series. You're not just going to 3-0 me, as a lot of people I know would be anticipating. And actually, speaking of that, let's actually take a look at those hitbox polls, because I really want to see where people are sitting. We have, 73.7% of the people voting on the hitbox poll saying Hydra is just going to take this. No problem, no problem. StarDust sitting at 26%. Well, I'm willing to bet, Jack Attack, anyone that hasn't voted in those polls are going to be changing that a little bit after seeing that last game. StarDust showing some really, really strong aggression. But the counterpoint to that, Jack Attack, is those kind of cheeses, those kind of all-ins, they lose a little bit of the effectiveness the more you do them, the more your opponent just anticipates that they're going to happen. So is that something that StarDust just does multiple games in a row? Like, he did a pretty good job of it. Even when it was scouted.
That's definitely one of his strong suits. And he did manage, keep in mind, he did manage to keep the scouts off for quite a bit of time, really intelligently. And that's a part of, like, controlling the information of the game. Really pushing out that Overlord so he could sneak the probe out there. It's just a really vulnerable time. If that probe doesn't get out there unscouted, then, like, the whole rush is in huge trouble. And the fact that he was able to set that up well, and execute properly. I mean, that's really where StarDust is in his zone, in that very aggressive game, aggressive mindset. But like you said, it's really difficult to pull that off enough times in a best of 5. This isn't Immortal Sentry all in from parting wins the whole tournament time of StarCraft, you know? The builds, the SHU-based builds are strong. They can be very powerful, but they're not that strong. That if you know that they're coming, if you expect them to come, you should be able to, especially as Hydra. Hydra is definitely going to be able to have a handle on it.
Yeah, and you know what I'm actually anticipating is that we're going to be seeing a very long, drawn-out macro game coming up next. And that will be very, very fun to see, just because right now, according to Spawning Tool, both StarDust and Hydra, from the replays on the Spawning Tool website, have a 100% win rate in games that went over 25 minutes. So, you know what? Whenever we have a 100% win rate from 2 different players and they face off against each other in a certain situation, if that situation arises, one of them is going to lose their 100% win rate. And that would just be cool to see.
Because that's, I always wonder though, with a 100% win rate, it's like, is it just one game that they both
is it one
it's just like that they happen to win, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, I always get a little bit, you know, dubious of the 100% win rate. But Spawning Pool is a really, really large database of games. I imagine there's quite a few in there. Over the 25-minute marker, and like I said, like we've been saying, Hydra is the favorite, but that does not mean we can get some underdog victory going on here. 1 game to 1 game in the best of 5, and now basically we have a best of 3 on our hands.
Yeah, and you know what I love about how this tournament, and I'm pretty sure this wasn't just like artificially done, but I love the fact that we are guaranteed, and I know a lot of other people will feel this way, we are guaranteed not to have a mirror matchup finals, which is kind of cool. Since I believe we'll end up having, is that correct?
A VT.
Hydra versus StarDust, and yeah, it'll be something
versus something
Terran.
VT. Yeah. No matter what.
It's pretty cool how that's going to set up. So if you are a big fan of Protoss versus Terran, or if you're a big fan of Zerg versus Terran, whichever one, maybe that'll influence your votes on the hitbox.tv of voting and hoping who you see in the finals. I know that, like, I'm a huge Hydra fan, but at the same time I'm a huge Protoss fan as a Protoss player, and I kind of want to see StarDust versus maybe Fantasy. StarDust versus Fantasy. That's kind of cool. That'd be a little bit cool.
Yeah, actually, you and I were talking a little bit before the stream got started up, and apparently you've been seeing a couple of games of Fantasy meching against Protoss, which is quite
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it's been seen to happen before. Fantasy is one of those players that I know is very much celebrated as being kind of a bit of a different Terran, has a
Mm.
little bit of a different play style, and has been known to mech in pretty much all the matchups, I think, at certain points of time. Not sure if it's something that we will see today, especially just because we don't even know if StarDust is going to be able to topple over the Titan that is Hydra. But we should be jumping in to the next game fairly shortly. The map is going to be Terraform, and finding out whether or not StarDust is even going to be able to bring it back in game number 3 and take the lead in the series for the very first time. Terraform, a very, very fun and interesting map that has led to very fun shenanigans. It is, Jack Attack, I feel like there's always that one map in the map pool, and you're like, you're the troublemaker map. You're the map that has that gold in every, like, you know what I mean? In the Protoss versus Zerg matchup, there's always that troublemaker map that's like, this is the map that Zergs love to just take those gold expansions on. And it just happens, like, every single season, there's that one map that you end up having those gold expansions where the Zerg player is just like, I'm going to take my natural over there, like, way out in the corner.
It would be.
This is that map, man.
One of those games. This is absolutely that map. And to get us started off, we do have spawning in Atlanta, Georgia, in the bottom right-hand corner of our screen, the blue Protoss, StarDust.
And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. I believe in somewhere in Northern California. He's at the Root House right now. It is Root Gaming's Hydra.
All right, all right, all right. We've got a game upon our hands. Will we have another proxy hatchification station? Not sure.
Well, it is a two-player map, so this is going back into those kind of mind games about the opening, you know, would you be so ballsy as to try and Nexus first or 3-hatch before pool on a two-player map where your opponent's going to get that guaranteed scat off and have the opportunity to punish you? And quite frankly, looking at StarDust right now, it looks like, yes, he is ballsy enough to go for potentially the Nexus first as he sends out the probe. No, we're going to be seeing the Forge first.
Forge on 13. Definitely a strong cannon rest position here. Most of the time, that's what's going to happen. Just keep in mind that StarDust does have the option of back off if he doesn't like it. And really, really smart movements here. You'll notice the probe is coming down, avoiding the common paths of the Overlord. So that way, again, he does not know. And, oh, look at this scout from Hydra. Oh, beautiful. Just grabbing that path, going the non-normal way to do his scout. Oh, to do his scout or get a gold base. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, man, like you said, Ravi.
I think that StarDust may have moved like not only to maybe avoid any kind of early Overlord scouts to see anything, but like I think it was to check to see if there was a hatchery first at the gold. It ended up being a spawning pool first, but still, this is going to be one of those. Okay, Hydra.
Oh my God!
Do you still
pulling like all the drones right now? Holy!
Oh my
crap.
God! I was gonna
is
say, do you still defend this? He is decided to defend this.
Defending this. I mean, and you want to transfer anyway at some point. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Wait.
He's not going to defend.
Wait. Is this the
Actually
new
going
meta?
across
Is
the
this
map
the
right
next
now.
level shenaniganry? Wait a
Yeah.
second.
Oh
StarDust
my
might be
God.
onto this. He has a cannon already finishing up, though. He already finished up his cannon. Wait, what is Hydra doing?
We have
What are these drones
indecision.
doing?
They're having
He's
a
waiting.
meeting.
No, he's waiting for the Zergs. He's waiting for the Zerglings. He wants to make sure he has like everything showing up at once, but waiting around to do that extra little bit of metagaming, I don't think it's gonna work out.
He's gonna be able to get this cannon, no problem.
Maybe?
The wall's not finished. You should be able to take most of this stuff out. A wall in at the top of the ramp is possible, but still a little bit unlikely.
being pulled.
Cannon going down. Oh my! It's the war of the workers. He's gonna try to keep this cannon alive and get it up. And he's stalling for time for the time being, but oh my God, all these workers going down. Just these Zerglings, all the few just mixed in. All the workers are going down. That's
slide.
it.
GG.
Wow.
Hydra with the unexpected Well, I don't need to pull my workers to defend against the cannon rush. I just need to pull my workers to kill you because you're investing in the cannon rush. Apparently, that is an appropriate reaction.
Next time that happens to you on ladder,
today I learned.
Told you what today, you know?
Today
Absolutely.
You know what? I think that only works because it was at the gold expansion. Because in any other situation, the pylon, if you're like trying to cannon rush your opponent's natural expansion, the pylon and the cannon would scout out those drones moving down the ramp, and you're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wall off. It's not gonna be a problem. But because it was at the gold, he had no idea that those drones were moving across the map.
That was crazy.
It was like that was such a situationally beautiful maneuver. That was just an on-the-spot kind of like adaptation. And maybe it's happened to him before in the past because, I mean, again, it's the troublemaker map. It's the map that Zergs go for those kinds of things on. So I'm sure, and I know I've seen Hydra go for those kind of shenanigans before in the past. But really, really cool to see Hydra's new adaptation of that. I'm looking forward to seeing that on the ladder next time I play that map. Absolutely. I say as sarcastically as possible.
Absolutely. Well, you know, next time you're gonna cannon rush a gold base like that,
and then I'm gonna go
all in fast.
Yeah, I'm gonna scout around like as soon as that cannon goes down. I'm gonna like send the probe to their natural to see if they're pulling all the drones, and then go back.
Smart moves. Smart moves.
Moving back onto a 4-player map, Hydra leads the series 2-1 and 1 game away from victory with a series of fairly short games. We'll see how this game shapes up in game number 4 as we go ahead and spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map atop the red Protoss player. It is StarDust.
And in the bottom right-hand part of the screen, we have the Teal Zerg Hydra.
So Jack, I made a prediction that I'm going to call myself out on for the last game.
Good, because I was about to call you, you know, very honorable for you to call yourself out, because I was about to.
I just figure, you know, this is the most honorable way to handle the situation.
Absolutely.
I said that I think that was going to be the game where we'd see that very long, drawn-out macro game. That ended up being the shortest game that we've seen so far. So how do you feel about the mind games going on in terms of, like, how would you treat the situation? Is this a place where you say, like, okay, now it's time that I try and play a macro game? Or is this just like, okay, if you want to play dirty, Hydra, we can play ball. We can play ball right now.
I think as Hydra, on this map right now, be playing as safely as possible, and just try to secure the win. There's no need to take any big risks or anything like that. But that being said, Hydra has shown a lot of range in what he's capable of doing and what he's willing to do. So being up a game also gives you that sort of space where you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna go for this, you know, really early all-in that Zergs never do, but I just did it because I'm super creative, because I hang out with Cats and he tells me creative things to do, you know? On StarDust side of the map, I still think, you know, going into the aggressive game is going to be best for him, starting things off with the Nexus first and then pushing into aggression afterwards, I think is, you know, his most successful style of play.
Yeah, Hydra looks like he's going to be sitting, kind of what you were saying, like that safer style, not too safe. He's not going for just like spawning pool first and just being ultra paranoid on a 4-player map. Goes for the hatchery first, but doesn't follow it up with any kind of crazy 3-hatch before pool or anything. Just says, hey, hatch first, spawning pool, gas. Let's play this out. Let's get up a, you know, nice little defensive play and be able to put on a little bit of pressure. And we see that there is the gateway wall in with the Forge. And the Forge, to me, whenever I see a pro player do this Forge off of the Nexus first, I always feel like they're just saying, okay, I'm going to play it a little bit safe. I'm still a little bit wary about some kind of big all-in or some kind of big attack. Because otherwise, you just say, nah, whatever, just forget it. Like, let's throw down the gateway. I'm sure I'll be fine.
And, I mean, there are a lot of Protoss players out there who will tell you, no, gateway is just literally better all of the time. The only reason you would ever go Forge is a cannon rush, which clearly StarDust disagrees with. But, you know, there is a lot of strong sentiment for one way or the other. But, yeah, I think this is one of those kind of situations where he's being maybe a little bit too safe. But, you know, after all the shenanigans that have happened, I feel like StarDust be in that sort of mindset, like, ah, man, I gotta get a cannon up, I got a wall up, I don't even know what's gonna happen. He's gonna attack me with, vipers at 3-minute mark. I'm sure it's gonna happen. You never, you start getting scared, and the demons in the closet start coming out, and you're like, oh god, Hydra can do anything.
Yeah, and right now Stardust is already seeing, okay, there's no third expansion at the top side, no third expansion at the bottom side, just in case you would go for that. And honestly, in most situations, that should be enough to reveal, okay, you probably went for a gas first opening, because otherwise you would have taken your expansion by. But what he may not realize is that Hydra is not just going for any kind of gas opening. He's going for a burrow play, a very fast burrow play. And that is something that's very difficult to scout as a Protoss player.
Yeah. Well, this is what I do as a Zerg player. First 100 gas, I get burrow. Stick with me now. Then, it's like, it's a very rare situation for that kind of a thing to happen. I'm really interested, and we do see in the background, though, the Twilight Council's coming down, workers getting saturated, gases are all getting taken here.
You know what I think might be the reveal about this? Because, honestly, like, third expansion stuff is not late at all, because he just sacrificed Zergling speed. But seeing that there's no Zergling speed at the, when he sees that there's no Zergling speed around 6:30 or so, that should be like, wait a second, hold the horses, hold the phone. You must have gone for a gas opening, because you did not have your third by 5 minutes or so. Like, that must have been a really late third. So, where's your gas going?
Well, I can tell you where StarDust gas is going. It's going into a dark shrine. When behind,
oh my god,
best of 5, go dark shrine, says Day 9, all the time.
Well,
it's a thing.
This is really weird.
Burrow versus dark shrine.
Well, not just that. Hydra revealed the burrow. He burrowed a Zergling right in front of the Stalker, which, is nice, because, keeping the Zergling alive obviously going to be a valuable thing, but Stardust is going to know that, okay, I can't plant down this Nexus because the burrowed Zergling is there, and he's going to immediately know what's happening. But he's just saying, the fact that he knows burrow is there and that's why he can't take a third, and he's not planting down a robot facility, is an obvious clear indicator that he's saying, I don't care about taking a third. In fact, I'm just going to kill you right now. He has the Dark Shrine finishing up, and now he's going to have this great 1-2 punch. Dark Templars coming in to do harassment, and then he comes in with a big all-in off of the back of it.
Oh, if he's looking, he would have seen these things warping in, but are we sure what's going on? We don't see any Overseers being morphed in just yet, so they haven't been seen. Ooh, nice surround of the Queen. Takes one Queen out, and he's going to target down the hatchery right away. That's a kill every single time. 3 DTs cannot be stopped from killing a hatchery if you don't already have an Overseer. The timing just sort of works out that way.
Yeah, and honestly, the Overseer is so far away that these DTs are going to have the opportunity to just run away. Not even going to lose them, can even turn them into an Archon with the follow-up push that he's likely going to be planning. Although he has started a robotic facility, I'm wondering if... Okay, I think the robotic facility is just like a safety. Okay, wait a second. If he gets actually tunneling claws and he has burrow, this could be a little bit scary. So let's go ahead and get the robotic facility up, get the observer out for that. But I don't anticipate he's going to be taking a third, at least immediately.
Yeah, I think we're going to see +2 here. I mean, the cool thing about the Robo here, like you said, it's sort of serves 2 functions at the same time. It's, oh, I can detect stuff that's burrowed because that's what's going to happen, but I can also make Archons if I need to, because he's clearly going to be building Roaches. Roaches obviously going for that, that tunneling claw type of thing. Generally speaking, if you see burrow, Roaches are usually not too far behind.
Yeah. Roach is currently burrowing and maybe looking to just set up a bit of a weird situation where Stardust moves across the map and he just unburrows the Roaches, picks off the sentries, and gets some juicy kills, but we'll see how well this works out. Hydra splitting up his Roaches. Oh, maybe setting up for a little bit of a concave or a flank.
Oh, he finds the sentries right now. Oh, yes, he does. He targets down 1, 2, 3. Oh, he's gonna get all the sentries. I think he might even get that last sentry. Oh my god, that is so huge. And even Burrow's right in his face. You can't do anything about it. Now he's marching across the map, or hanging out, I guess, with just a handful of Stalkers and 1 Archon. I mean, you got an Overlord for his troubles, but not too much in the way of trading.
It's awkward because it sucks to lose that, but the Observer stopped. Why did the Observer stop? The Roaches are going to be able to get away. I was going to say, if he manages to kill off all these Roaches, maybe there's a bit of a scary point, because losing that third and potentially taking more damage to those Dark Templars, maybe you could have been in a really awkward situation, but these Roaches are still trading kind of effectively. I think that Hydra's doing enough with this to buy enough time.
Yeah, he's playing across the entire other side of the map, and keep in mind, the entire time this is happening, they're off, you know, he's off all the way to the side, and we have a 2-base StarDust. You know, that's still the case, and he's actually building up, he's up to 20 workers and 19 on each side, so I think he's planning on taking the expansion.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, he's definitely looking to take that expansion as he throws it down, is looking to try and defend it. And honestly, Hydra doesn't exactly have an overwhelmingly high drone count. He was also a little bit concerned. Yeah, he was concerned about that push-in from StarDust, and StarDust, I don't know if I would say it was like juke and jiving, because honestly, it seemed like StarDust had everything set up to look like he really wanted to do that big 2-base push, but he decided against it, and now Hydra's left with so many Hydras that he can't really utilize right now, and not that many drones.
Yeah, his drone count's super low. It's on 44, and in fact, he's not building any more drones right now. He might even just have decided to make a 2-base attack out of this. Said, oh, you're gonna 2-base me? I will 2-base you harder than you've ever been 2-based in your whole life. And here we are. We do have the Roaches in front, positioned very well up on the high ground. We have the army of StarDust, and a lot of this is going to, not a lot of force fields going down. We do have the 1 Immortal and Archon. He's going to be able to get in here, potentially deal some damage, and oh, nice, really nice positioning. It's all about this choke point over here. If he can get a nice big concave, really good setup over here. He's trying to position out. A couple of force field goes down. Really great. That's going to help out his chances in this fight. And keep in mind, the reinforcement place is much closer to StarDust here. So if he can hold on just a bit longer, he should be able to hold this off. Dark Templar warping in, but the Overseer is already available. Excellent blink micro from StarDust. And slowly, the Zerg is moving in here. That Immortal's still alive. Will he keep it alive with the Warp Prism micro?
Great job.
Absolutely great micro here, but is that enough to save you?
You know, right now, StarDust does still have a much better economy, so the longer that this goes on, those 3 bases are going to be paying off, but not if he ends up losing his Cybernetics core anymore in these gateways, ends up canceling +3 weapons from being researched. And right now, Hydra comes in with another wave of these Roaches, more Roaches being produced. He manages to snipe off the Immortal.
Oh my god, what a concave.
Oh, this Hydra, he's starting to spiral out of control.
Absolutely.
Opportunity to move in. He's gonna have the opportunity to move into the natural, kill off this forge, potentially kill off the cybernetics core. If he gets the cybernetics core, no more stalkers, no more sentries, only zealots, only Dark Templars.
Nice picking off the reinforcements here. Really good idea, but it might even be too little, too late. StarDust is microing his life out, but it's not enough. GG. The series goes to Hydra 3-1.
And I think a lot of people are anticipating it, but you know what? StarDust still puts up a great fight, going out 1-3, showing some pretty awesome games and gets pretty close, especially in that last game, to tying up the series. But Hydra, at the end of the day, coming out on top, guaranteeing himself a spot in the finals for the Team Gravity Fight Night Tournament of Champions. And I believe that earns himself already at least $50. And you know what, Jack Attack? $50 is going to be very important because we have Legacy of the Void coming out.
$50.
You know, everyone has to prepare their alt Smurf accounts for Legacy of the Void. And this is where that money is going to be going to, is that everyone's just preparing for those Smurfs. And you know what? The winner of Team Gravity Fight Night is going to be able to afford a whopping 3 or 4 Smurf accounts. Think of all the barcodes you could make with that. You could get 4 different barcodes into GM in Legacy of the Void. Just by winning Team Gravity Fight Night Tournament of Champions. That's all you know.
You could have an all eyes barcode. You could have an all L. You could have an alternating one. You can like spell out SOS in Morse code with I's and L's. You know, how do you feel about? You know, what would you do with your barcode? You've got a secret barcode.
You know, I think Hydra is a pretty short name. I actually wonder if how many characters he would need to spell out his name in Morse code.
Well, I think you have
probably
more
than you need.
Max. You have a 13 character max when you're making a
probably too many.
And it's 2 or 3. So it actually would depend on how many Morse code symbols in Hydra are 2 characters or 3 characters. if all of them were 2 characters, you'd actually be able to fit it in. He has enough room for 3 of them to be 3 characters, so my next barcode's gonna be Hydra.
Oh man. I like how we're also trying to defeat the point of the barcode where you're trying to make yourself undistinguishable, and we're trying to figure out how to encode your actual name into the barcode. Like, wait a second, this is defeating the purpose of it. But big congratulations goes out to
Jack
Hydra.
and Eisenel.
But again, you know, Hydra moving on, and next we're going to be finding out who's going to move on between Fantasy and Alive in a great TBT that's going to be coming up next. That's also going to be a best of 5 coming up over here on Hitbox.tv. But I want to give a huge shout out to the people that, again, make Tournament of Champions possible, and that would be our lovely, lovely sponsors. And that would include, first of all, Hitbox.tv, the place that you guys are watching this from. And Hitbox.tv has some great opportunities available in terms of what you can do on the website. And you guys are really missing out on it if you are watching through the embed on Team Liquid. I highly implore you to go ahead and click on through and even consider registering an account and, you know, interacting with us in the chat, and maybe considering subscribing to the channel to get that G2A $5 coupon. But they also have polls, we have GIFs, we have GIFs, we have, I'm trying to think of an alternate pronunciation that has never been done for the word GIF before, but I can't think of any. But we have all sorts of awesome stuff, and of course our own suite of emotes. So if you guys want to go ahead and hop on over, check out Hitbox.tv, as they are one of the primary sponsors that make Tournament of Champions possible.
And don't forget, you know, we should be thanking the other people that make Tournament of Champions possible as well, which is every single human watching right now. Because if no one was watching, we wouldn't be doing this. We would be people talking into cameras at each other as if there was something happening, but no one would be watching.
Which I do in my own free time, but it's a lot less productive when I do
that
it.
too. Nice, nice. Me too. When I'm like in the bathroom,
just making
and start
sure.
casting, you know.
Yeah.
Just, you know, it becomes a part of you eventually. If you've casted enough, you start casting everything. Be like, and the ham sandwich is being built, the bread goes down, and we have the mayonnaise coming up next. And oh my God, he's pulling out the lettuce.
90%. Oh my God, he gets the repair off. The bread is being put back together. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone else is doing that too. You know, that's not weird. Okay, cool.
No, it's not weird. No, everyone does it.
But on top of that, we also have our other amazing sponsors, including, as long as we're talking about people who have been watching and is actually in the chat right now, oh fuck you, or oh fuck you, as I like to say. One of the most amazing members of the community puts up so much support for different StarCraft events, including the Tournament of Champions for Team Gravity Fight Night. Big shout out goes to him, as he definitely makes specifically the Tournament of Champions very much possible for us to keep putting on. And JekDeck, our last sponsor, or our last person that we haven't talked about, Spawning Tool, who I think we've hinted at a little bit. We talked a little bit about, you know, I've mentioned some of the statistics that they've provided us about the players, and where can people find out about these statistics for themselves?
Oh, they of course can go to spawningtool.com. It's really easy because you put a .com after the spawning tool. It's not a spawning pool, it's a spawning tool. And will help you spawn all kinds of ladder points into your world. But yeah, so the next matchup, speaking of spawning tool, next matchup, Alive versus Fantasy. It's a TBT, and Fantasy has a 73% win rate in TBT right now, and Alive has a 45% win rate. So pretty big disparity there.
Yeah, and for those who are wondering, Boom Boom was originally going to be playing. Fantasy was so kind as to replace him, as Boom Boom was unavailable to play. A little bit unfortunate, but you know what? If you're a Fantasy fan, as I know I am, not the worst trade in the world to get Fantasy at the end of the day. We get to watch more Fantasy games, and Fantasy, again, as you mentioned, has a very, very strong win rate in TBT. We'll see what Alive could pull out. Guys, we're going to be hopping to a short little break. We'll see you guys in just a little bit. Stay tuned.